Hey everybody, how's it going? Like Butter here, and today I got a division video to talk to you guys about the open world bosses that are now farmable in 1.4. Now, if you remember, when the game first came out, you could farm these bosses, but there was a problem with one boss in particular, which was Bullet King, who you could continuously run out, kill him, and leave the other people in the group alive, come back to the safe house, and just rinse and repeat. So in order to fix that problem, they basically took out the named bosses around in the open PvE world altogether. Well, now with 1.4, they have brought those open world bosses back, and I want to go over the locations and tell you guys where to find these bosses, because killing these bosses is a super relaxing, super easy way to get gear. I'm going to show you guys a map here on screen. A link to this map will be in the description below if you just want to use it as reference or whatever, but I'm going to go pretty in detail on where to find all of these bosses if you just want to watch the video instead. Going through all this content took me about 45 minutes, but a lot of that time was me trying to find the bosses, so hopefully this video helps you guys get there a little bit quicker and probably even be able to do it in half the time. I got a lot of good drops going through this run, including 2 police M4s, which I think to be one of the best assault rifles in the game that I've been looking for quite a lot recently, and this seems to be a really good way to get those. Now, I farmed this in like a U going around the dark zone, but for some reason I like to start in the top right hand corner, so that's where we're going to be starting in this video. Apollo is an LMB commander that spawns in the northeast segment of the playable map area. It's pretty decently easy to find him. He spawns on the corner of East 52nd and 3rd Ave. He spawns with about 3 other LMB that are pretty easy to take out. Now, don't forget, guys, the level of the enemies and the drops that you get are dependent on your world tier level. So I would definitely suggest to make sure you're in world tier 4 doing these bosses, unless you obviously need to get your gear score up in order to get there. But it's definitely not that hard to do, and this can be a really good way to get gear once you've just entered world tier 4, since these bosses are so easy to take out. The next boss is just southeast of Apollo. Sergeant Jax is a LMB heavy, so make sure to try to hit the precision point on the lower part of his backpack in order to do damage and also be able to shoot around the shield. He's super easy to find. He ends up being right in the middle of the street. But if you're having trouble finding the bosses, make sure to put pulse on so that if you know you're in the vicinity of where they are, you can just see them through the walls. This one really shouldn't be too hard for you guys as long as you pop his backpack. And also, if you have multiple people doing this, it'll be even easier because you guys can spread out and he'll only be able to hold the shield one direction. You can also throw incendiary grenades, flashbangs, or shot grenades to make him lower his shield so that he's vulnerable for a few seconds. I found taking these bosses out being really easy with assault rifles. Since assault rifles have enemy armor damage built right into them, I feel like it's going to be a little bit more difficult if you're using an SMG. Snipers are also super strong against shield guys because you can shoot right over the top of the shield. Next, we're moving on to Corporal Doorsman, who spawns south of the Russian consulate near Kobe's on East 38th Street. Now, be very careful in this area. There's a lot of NPCs. If you're undergeared, it could be a little bit difficult, maybe even a little bit frustrating. But just be careful. Like I said, if you're min-maxed or you have a lot of good gear, you probably won't have a problem clearing any of these, and you can just use it simply for the locations of where they are. Make sure to also keep your distance because he does wield a shotgun. He's like one of the characters that you see very often in Russian consulate. The LMB can be a little bit tough, so just keep your distance. That shotgun does a ton of damage. But other than that, this should be another easy one. As you can see here, I even got a gear set. So getting gear sets, even though they don't happen too often on the open world bosses, you will get them here and there for sure. Next on the list, we have Corporal Wright, who seems to be an LMB officer that traded to become friends with the Rikers. I don't know if this was a design mistake, probably what it was, but he looks like he's an LMB character with a bunch of Rikers, but he is super easy to find. He's in a parking lot just south of the police academy. If you want, you can fast travel to the police academy. That'll be the easiest way to do it. Honestly, you can fast travel to anything. That's why the map will be super helpful, so you can see which landmarks you want to fast travel to get this done in the quickest amount of time possible. Don't forget, these bosses respawn every 4 hours, so you can do this multiple times in a session if you want. Maybe you want to do some incursions or some dark zone in between. Finding the parking lot is super easy. Just look for the big yellow school bus. There's tons of cover outside of this little lot, so it shouldn't be hard taking him out. Now we're going to be going to the southeastmost part of the playable map to find Chains. Chains is a heavy Riker who seems to be kind of a weirdo considering he hangs out right outside a children's playground. So in between these huge apartment complexes, you can see a playground with like a slide and a couple of the little towers. It should be easy to find. It almost looks kind of like a courtyard, so you can just use the stairways to figure out which direction you need to go. Don't forget, just like the heavy LMB shield guys, you can shoot his backpack and make him vulnerable. Although the heavy Rikers aren't as hard to shoot since they don't have a shield, they do hit a lot harder than the LMB heavies do, so make sure to keep that in mind. Next, we're going to be taking out Riot, who happens to spawn on the street that's perpendicular to the park on the south part of the map. Now, his name's Riot, so you guessed it, he's a Riker. I thought that since his name was Riot, he would be a Rider, but no, he's a Riker. Super easy to take out, really no catch here. You shouldn't have any problem finding him. Just use that really narrow park on the bottom of the map as a reference. It's right under that. Don't forget, these guys can roam around quite a bit since they do walk around in a certain area. So just use the map as a reference and then use pulse when you feel like you're in the right spot. There's been some times where they've kind of been in weird areas where they've wandered off where they're not usually. And I think this is all due to real time and like what time you go and try to kill them and stuff like that. So don't get frustrated, you'll find them. Belzer is another name boss that is super easy to find. Just fast travel to the Napalm production site main mission and he ends up being just south in the street junction. He's a regular cleaner. You can precision shot the oxygen tank on his back, but just be careful because in the 1.4 update, when you blow up the tank on the cleaners, they can just suicide bomb you by sprinting in your direction. But those things hurt and sometimes you can get one-shotted, especially if you're under geared. So just keep that in mind if you end up shooting his oxygen tank. Should be pretty easy to take out. Cleaners have fairly low health. So when I heard 5-0, I was like, oh, 5-0, you know, people use that term for police officers. It's gotta be a Riker. Nope, just a random Rioter that's walking in the alley between these two blocks. You kind of have to question how they came up with the names for these bosses, or if they were just completely trolling us. 5-0 can be a little bit hard to find. You just need to find a way into the alley. There should be a couple different ways to do it, but as long as you know where it is on the map, just look for an open doorway and you should be able to find it. Fray is in running distance. It's very, very short. I wouldn't even bother fast traveling anywhere. Once you run by these super pretty Christmas lights that you're going to see here on the left, you'll be able to see him right in the alley behind it. I found him trying to break into the ATM, which I thought was pretty funny. He has a precision area on his backpack that you can shoot and he'll just instantly blow up. So this should just be a breeze. Also, no NPCs really spawn close either, so this is like probably one of the easiest ones to clear. The next boss we're going to be going for is Erskine or Erskine. I'm not sure how to say that. He's all the way on the west side of the map. He has to be one of my favorite bosses to run to. You can fast travel to the Lincoln Tunnel and easily run to him. But he spawns on a side of the map that you very rarely go to. And I still think there's a bunch of parts of the map that I haven't discovered, which is why I really hope in the future they find a way to make the whole map usable. I feel like even though you're going to be going to kill this boss, even if you're doing it every 4 hours and when you go and do HVTs on this area, I still don't think that these parts of the map get used enough. Let's hope in the future we get to actually take in all the level design of this game. Erskine is one of the cleaners that have the pouches on both sides of his legs. It will instantly just blow him up. Just make sure you're not too close when you shoot him. A bit further east towards the dark zone, we have Fumes, which to my surprise, Fumes is actually a cleaner. I thought it was going to be like a Rider or a Riker or something random like that, seeing that the other name bosses have been completely named incorrectly based on their faction. This one can be a little bit tricky because he is underground. When I first was trying to find him, I was looking around just because I was using the map. So don't forget, the map will help you find the general area, but for this one in particular, all you gotta do is find the underground station. You can even access the underground station from the safe house closest to it. He ends up being one of the cleaners just like Erskine, so just shoot the pouches on the side of his legs and you should be able to take him out pretty quickly. We are on the home stretch here. Last 3 bosses in the open world PvE area. The next boss is called Strings. He's a Rioter that is going to be spawning on the tracks right outside of Amherst's apartment. So just fast travel to Amherst's apartment and look for the bridge over the train tracks. He should just be walking back and forth there. Sorretto is a big mofo that likes dunking on people at the basketball court. You're going to be able to find Sorretto at the basketball court just south of the northwest most safe house. Just look for the break in the buildings. It'll be pretty easy to see it. There's also a gigantic skull of graffiti up on the wall, which is super cool. Now, he is one of the heavy fumigators, I think they call him. So he has 3 weak spots that you can shoot. He has a pouch on his right side, a tank on his left, and also an oxygen tank on his back. So you can shoot any of those 3 spots to do a large amount of damage of him. But like I said before, make sure to stay a decent distance away because he will try and sprint at you. And last but not least, the Bullet King. Anyone who's been playing this game since it came out knows exactly where to go to kill the Bullet King. Just fast travel to the Autumn's Hope safe house, take a right as you leave the building, and then take another left down the street. You will see a gigantic Bullet King tribute spray paint on the side of the truck. Once you take the Bullet King out, you will have completed an entire run of the open world bosses in the PvE zone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If it helped you out, be sure to drop the video a like. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Like Butter, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care, everybody.